Hi all, it's me Aki from Bring Forth again, and this is set 29 part 6 I believe. I could be wrong as I haven't uploaded my latest video onto the channel yet. I can't actually check if it's set 5, but part 5, but I do believe it's part 5. Could be part 4. Either way, I wasn't expecting to make a video today, and that's because I had gotten everything I wanted to say said, and I didn't feel like making a needless or pointless entry. The door is open, by the way, so you can hear the background sounds better now. And I'd like to present how much tobacco I got from one of these. Damn it, I didn't mean to click that one. How much tobacco I got from one of these patrons. Yes, this is set 29 part 5. And now it's going to start the computer game because I accidentally clicked on its icon and I have no way to pause it because there's no background running service that shows what's going to be run and what's not going to be run. So I have to wait for this incredibly slow game to start itself up. Now these are the things that Windows doesn't have. You should always be able to Alt-Tab to a screen that has running at the highest speed setting a panel like the closed system panel, but with easily understandable linking between what the different systems do, so that I can actually stop things like printer services, which I don't actually need if I need the extra microsecond of speed. So right now I could just Alt-Tab there and close this thing because I don't actually need this thing. But I can't Alt-Tab or do Control-Alt-Delete without a slowdown because the system is already consuming all of the memory. It's going to take it more memory to start up the system design to make sure that it doesn't use memory. Freaking shoestring budget on everything we do. If we could just make this, if we could just get a job. Anyway, I wanted to show how much tobacco I got from one of these patrons. I shared some weed and asked if I can have mine or if he has mine, and he said no. I offered to tell him, or offered and told him that I could actually just go for some cigarette thing, and he said he's gonna pay it back, but here's also some cigarette thing. And usually when you ask for a cigarette thing, you know, the ground up bits of tobacco that you don't actually yet have in the tobacco that you need to roll into a tobacco. Usually somebody gives you a small pouch or a small, like, here is, you can have. This guy gave me this much. It's kind of hard to gauge size, but you can see that that is a lot of tobacco. Nice. So now I don't have to go through the ashtrays. This is from a brand new box. And it was just open. It was even closed with the tape thing that they have. So I knew this is. So I know that this is brand new. This isn't from an ashtray as I usually smoke because I don't like to buy tobacco. I'm against buying it. I'm even against using it, but I don't have a lot of options. This place fucks you up. I'm glad that it's just tobacco and not things like IV drug use. So I will be living. I'm going to go to the tobacco room to have a smoke, and then I will probably be back. minuscule amount. I'd like to also discuss another topic, now that I have you here, since you were so attentive to watching me, or rather listening to me go take a smoke without complaint. If you're still here by that, I mean, of course, because only the people who are here will listen to this. I'd like to say that the world's strongest superpower shouldn't have nuclear weapons. They should have their military distributed in other countries, so that you can't, with a strategic nuclear strike, no matter how well placed, take out their military and their industrial production capacity at the same time. The military should be comparatively larger, because it needs to be, and it should be based in all countries that are allied with the country, and it should be designed to make sure that you can't take out the industrial and military capacity of the leading superpower at the same time. And they should rely on minor nations having nuclear weapons. That would be so that the world community has nuclear weapons, but the largest country doesn't, so that their defense is basically to make sure that the largest country suffers as well if they choose to attack them, but that is basically all they can do. So that the individual countries would need a union between themselves to be able to actively harm the United States, but in a defense they would be able to inflict, if the United States attacks them, they would be able to inflict significantly higher casualties on the United States forces than the United States would on them, without the United States resorting to human rights violations. Such a system would probably be better for making sure that we have the genetic distribution of material on the human planet and society as a general that we want. So that the soldiers and the leading country gets to see the world, while the less developed countries get to have some kind of self-defense against the more developed countries. It would probably lead to regional nuclear exchanges eventually, but they would be much less harmful to the environment and to the human population in general, than having the large-scale nuclear exchange that we had with the testing period, where we detonated a few thousand nuclear devices and basically poisoned the planet. Because there would be very little reason, and the political scuffle to get your right to test would be severe in comparison to most of the atmospheric tests and similar tests that were done for a single purpose only. They didn't compress their tests so that they could test for a lot of things at the same time. They simply had another idea of what the nuclear device could be used against or for, and then they tested it on a single basis instead of waiting and having like one test every 10 years where they build an entire mock city and test all those things at the same time. They didn't really have the system in place. It became a form of communication between the Soviet leadership and the United States leadership, and the rest of the world basically sat on the sidelines and wondered if this nuclear war will actually take them down. So the way I see it, if the strongest power on the planet doesn't have nuclear weapons, we will see a lot more mobility in who is the strongest country, and it will be a lot more about economy. It won't be such a stuck-up match between two countries that aren't either really interested in economy but are doing their thing for something that seems peripheral to the human experience, instead of testing nuclear weapons to do things like seeing if animals can communicate with humans, which is of course by now something we can understand to be a complete truth, something that there is no way that we can deny, that people who train animals know that animals can think. But this was not the case in the 60s. It was widely thought that animals can't think for themselves in any way. But with the studies done in the environment and in cases where humans haven't polluted the area, we realized that animals can actually think for themselves in advanced forms and have tools and societies and culture and art and so on and so forth. So that being said, I think if the largest country doesn't have nuclear weapons, the world will probably be a little less stable in the face of warfare, but it will be a lot more stable in civilian times. It will be a lot more manageable. And if we leave for the largest country in the world the other types of weapons and exclude them from nuclear weapons, we will essentially see a system where the largest country in the world is very similar to a doctor, where the other countries have the weapons but they have the close wherewithal to be able to compete. Now this is probably something that will never pass. The largest country in the world will not suddenly decide to station 75% of their entire military abroad and then dismantle all of their nuclear weapons. But it's an interesting dilemma. It's a thought process that would be worth studying. Maybe make a simulation of what would happen if we have nuclear weapons that are in the hands of the minor nations and not in the hands of the largest one. Because a anti-ballistic shield can't be built over everywhere. It can be built over civilian and military main structures, but they would still be open to nuclear retaliation of even a moderate size. Even 20 missiles would probably have a few of them that would get through the missile shields. So countries that have a few nuclear devices and devote their entire industry to building a few nuclear devices before they're ready for it would lose both the development aid and probably not be able to significantly alter the US situation even if they were able to hit it with a nuclear device. That would probably remove a lot of the fear from the world of nuclear devices because they would become more commonplace and such, but I don't know if that's really a good idea. It probably is, but we don't have the resources to test it. If we had a sufficiently large computer system, we would probably be able to simulate this thing and see if it's actually worth doing, but I could do a lot of this in Masters, but not all of it, and without a panel of players it will be difficult because I don't have the kind of ground roots connection to the US where I would be able to measure what the people actually think day to day of my actions like I can do here. I don't know, it just seems a little more balanced. If we allow the US to station troops in all countries in the world that aren't like completely hostile to them in exchange for them dismantling their nuclear reserves, so that they can actually make sure that the opponent who wishes to rise against them needs to take out their standing military in the other country at the same time as they do nuclear strike, or the people who do the nuclear strike will be arrested and prosecuted properly almost instantly. And if we place the nuclear arsenal in a well-controlled civilian environment so that it can't be taken over by a random military strike or a random military upheaval, it will give the US enough time to, with the world permission, to raid those nuclear sites after a coup or a government comes into power that isn't going to maintain the treaty. So that would give the world some kind of balance. It would remove from the leadership the fear aspect that they are currently so deeply in trouble with. So no nuclear weapons for the leading country in the world, but for them the right to station their troops in almost any country in the world. And for them an incentive, basically an incentive to place their military in another country. Anyway, that's the things I wanted to talk about, and I will probably be going for another smoke and leaving this on while I do so, because now that I finally have like a huge supply of tobacco, I will actually use it for a while. I don't like tobacco as much as weed, but I have to admit that this place is hard on the nerves without it, and I can see how people would become addicted to it and how it would take its aspect of the world. I can't really blame it for it. And in my opinion, one of the worst mistakes of my life is attacking tobacco smokers instead of attacking the harms of tobacco. So in telling people that they should stop smoking instead of telling them that I will attempt to find a better cure for cancer, that to me is one of the worst mistakes of my life. I became cancer instead of fighting cancer. I became the thing that tells people not to have fun, and it wasn't for me. So from what I can tell, it's a little bit of an internal adjustment for me, but I will probably be able to do it. That I will be able to accept people who dislike having my company and use narcotics to get away from my company in situations where they can't get actually away, and to be able to live with that denial of territory. Even now when I'm sitting here and thinking, I can tell that the decision to become the 30th largest military power, give or take, with the associated removal of the silly taxes and similar things from my master's play, is the highest priority for people who follow me. It is what they want to see. They want to see if it's possible to do. It's like a call on the spirit that people want to see it. Because I've made so much hoopla about knowing that we could actually finance these things, that they can take a look for themselves. What would my optimum state look like? What is it really like as a place? 1/4 of the child mortality in the current system and 1/3 of the crimes in the current system is what we're hoping to get. Even just aiming for the lower child mortality rate is worth it. If we can actually reduce our child mortality by this upgrade to 1/4 of what it is, if we can actually decrease it that much or make it that much better, or whatever the word is, there will be an interest in how it was done. In a country like this, in a small ethnic state, the powers that be actually know you. It isn't the shadow government run by some other form of ethnicity or group of people that you don't know. In a small homogeneous state, there really is no Jewish banker. It is a oxymoron. It can't exist in a state like this. You literally know from your heart, from the telepathic center of your being, from the core, that these people are you. That what you do, they know, and what they do, you know. That you are in the one community. So from that point of view, it's much more beneficial, or perhaps much more beneficial to you at least, to do these simulations, because you know that if it actually works in a few years after talking about it or doing it, it will become officially the policy. There is a few year delay, but you can clearly see that they run their tests on the things that you talked about and then come to the same conclusion, so that they aren't actually hiding somewhere and doing their own social agenda without consulting anyone. That is the benefit of small ethnic states like this. Downside is that it's quite hard to communicate new concepts to outsiders and get your culture to be presented in the world community. You seem a little aloof because you're constantly feeling good. You feel like yourself. You feel like you have a place. Like wherever you are at home with yourself. You don't really feel like there's a conflict on for your soul, because there really is no conflict for the ethnicity or the group that you've always lived in. And if such a conflict were to approach, you know that the military would be on your side instead of somebody else's, because it's a small ethnic state. They all protect the same ethnicity because that's how it just goes. That's why small ethnic states are for certain things much better than large heterogeneous unions, but for some things we still need the places like European Union. We need to keep the European Union going because we've had enough wars with this group already. We want to do something else. So even if it is a little bad, we will stand by it for most of it because we just want out of these wars. We want this period of unrelenting warfare in this particular part of the world to end. We don't want it. So I heard rumors that our test to detonate a 100 megaton nuclear device in the deepest possible water source, so that it's detectable who uses that water and where, so that people actually get a, what's the word, court basis for themselves when they want to sue a major corporation for stealing their water source. I hear this may have actually worked. I don't know what they actually did, because that's not for me to know, but I said that we should use the 100 megaton device for that. And it seems that there is a lot less cronying going about water resources these days. It seems a little bit better, but that is just my opinion. It seems people are more into understanding how precious a resource water is. And another thing we did was shake a water bottle or any other water device that makes a sound of splashing water at radio transmitters and beam it to space, meaning that if somebody is listening to us, this is what we have. It's water, and it's made in many containers, but we still basically just do water with each other. On the idea that if an alien civilization is looking for us to advertise what we actually sell to an alien civilization instead of the benefits of hijacking humans, then they would have an actual communication channel. They would know what we sell. And in my opinion, fresh seawater is the best thing that we can sell because we have a lot of it. So almost immediately after I did the water shaking thing, I saw pictures of that blue storm UFO that is in Board Banda archives, and the pictures of storm from cockpit at Board Banda, the blue UFO. And to me it seemed like the largest by mass star in our universe, the RC 1631A something. I don't even remember if that name is correct, but you'll find it on their most massive star list. So I like the idea that a alien civilization listens with that accuracy to a random capitalist or a random person on their planet, on the planet that they're observing, and respond to a offer of, here we have water, and the star that is close to its end and is wanting hydrogen clearly responds with, could you give us some hydrogen? It's an interesting topic to think that a star would sentiently respond to our offer of selling water by saying that it uses water, it uses hydrogen. So if we could actually get some of our water to it, it would pay us by having futuristic technology available. This is the kind of alien communication that really gets me thinking. It gets me going. It's really hard to imagine why such a civilization wouldn't respond if somebody just shakes a water bottle at them. And to me, this was a slight bit after the Oumuamua first interstellar asteroid in our system. It was a short time before that one, I believe. And the interstellar asteroid was coincided almost for the day. It was almost the day that I completed my plan on how to build a red dragon and what such a red dragon would actually look like. So it was almost on the day that I completed my plan that we got that asteroid through our solar system, and almost at the same time when I did the water shaking thing that we got that giant UFO. I'm still a little worried that we may have actually contaminated the planet with the nuclear test thing, but it seems it didn't occur. They found another way to do it, which is great for us. But those seem to be the best cases of alien contact that I have. Dreams are okay, but you can't take a picture of a dream. A consecutive experience of waking up with your face on the pillow, with your hands and arms immobilized and completely immovable, and your sides straight on your body, is the most classical case of alien abduction that we know. But you can't really take a picture of it. You don't really get those pictures in that they are just not there. I haven't seen them personally, but you can take a lot of pictures of a storm that's well timed and say that this looks weird. That's, to me, why this is the best alien abduction, or alien abduction is the wrong word because they didn't seem to abduct anybody. This seems to be the best alien thought complex visit that I have seen. The giant space poo, the red dragon poo. This is the red dragon. We gave birth to it. It's this big. This is its poo. Hi. It visited its mother. See. This and the other one. Well, thinking about the red dragon, it's more like this is the one thing you have in common and are able to see from each other poo, because you don't yet see anything else because you need a frame of reference to see, and you don't yet have that frame of reference. So this is the space dragon actually traveling through your system, and it's around that object, but you can't see it yet. Your magnetic technology isn't advanced enough, but here is the dragon. We built it, or we gave birth to it, and it, it's alive and it's here. You can take a picture of something like that and debate forever what it actually was, but you can't really see pictures of people in dream paralysis, but it is possible. So yeah, those are thus far the most interesting cases of alien contact that I have to share. The space poop and the giant UFO. I will post a picture of the giant UFO with this one. Actually, I will probably even add the picture of the giant UFO into this video. And then there's the giant ball of light that to me seems like Proxima Centauri, the star, the closest star to us, as a plant form growing towards us and being so close to us that it's in our atmosphere, and we see a bright ball of light that isn't connected to anything. That's just what I see when I look at these pictures. The second picture, when you write board panda pictures of Storm from Cockpit into the search with the round disc-like UFO. It resembles such a classical case of the round disc-like UFO. If it really is the largest star in our universe that we found in terms of mass, not circumference, and it's responding to us, to our request to be able to sell water in exchange for services, if it's really responding to our request by saying that it will give technology in exchange for water, then I believe we've found our missing guy. And then the Tormenta coast of Venezuela, South America, is from our, far as I can tell, from turning communication satellites in orbit so that the solar panels hit the reflection from the solar panels hit the top of Olympus Mons, heating the point up so that water starts flowing down the sides of the mountains and possibly gets in contact with whatever is living there and what data banks of history they have there. I'm thinking if I find any other ones. Some of these storms seem to be historical leftover points between various US and other ships colliding or being close to colliding. Tormenta Oy, osakeyhtiö, a stock company, is the result I get most from this. Balham Garden. Do Japan just made a game where the main character beats people up with that giant UFO thing that I mentioned, the round disc, not the giant three-layered one. Really looks like Balam Garden. We will build you Balam Garden. I believe I am not authorized to sell that much water. Yeah. No, but actually I think if I just put a spigot on the ocean and start selling it off-world to some aliens that I found on the internet, it will cause some kind of problem. I can imagine that it wouldn't be one of the nicest responses from the world community when I start doing that, but then again, if I just put it on a coastal, may be doable. Now my computer froze. It will load up again, it's just... Never thought I'd live past 30. I had dreams for my almost entire childhood how I'd die in a scuffle with someone when I was about 30 and how there would be my girlfriend crying over me. I had a mushroom-induced vision of unity at around 30 and that was the hardest experience for me, but I didn't get into a fight. However, this depends on the point of view because all things are a fight depending on the point of view. There is no merit to counting numbers when you are trying to polysturize or share your view of the world. It is as important to make sure that one person hears as it is to make sure that everyone hears. This is due to the fact that we are one. these games were so good. So the strongest country should not have nuclear weapons. A lot about the UFO contacts, and what else? You may notice I'm getting dementia. Sadly. I can already tell that my memory is going even though I'm sober. It's not there anymore in the way that it used to be. At least I can look forward to a slow decline and I will have no idea what's going on. Hopefully I won't become angry. Hopefully I'll be able to contain myself. Or others will be able to find ways to do so. So that I don't become a danger to the people around me when I get to that point. I think the worst mistake the US made during the Second World War was not doing a demonstration of the atomic bomb before dropping it on a civilian population. They should have invited all the Japanese dignitaries and diplomats that they could, and all of the world community, and taken them on an atoll and detonated it while they were on a ship that's just close enough to be safe. Like one of those that really goes side to side and just sees the scale of what they're doing. That is what they should have done. Then they should have told them that the next one is going to be hitting Tokyo, because they don't care if the emperor lives, because if after this demonstration the emperor doesn't want to surrender, then he is already insane and is, worth dying. So that note came from Japan. They said they sent a light yellow colored note at the same time, kind of like, "This man speaks the imperial truth." It would be hard, but I would be accepting of it. Sniff. Anyway, that is what they should have done. They should have detonated it on top of an island and have Japanese and world dignitaries seeing what the effect would be like, and then just said the next one will be going for Tokyo. Because now they will be forever remembered as ending a war against somebody who wanted to surrender by saying that they must surrender unconditionally, and then drop an atomic bomb on them, and then don't ask them to surrender unconditionally. They will be always remembered for that. That was some kind of error in judgment. They wanted the Japanese to surrender unconditionally. They had already sent requests that their surrender should happen, but only on the condition that their emperor isn't personally harmed. And the Western powers refused that because they wanted an unconditional surrender. Then they dropped the 2 atomic bombs, and then Japan said that it's okay, they will give up the emperor if it comes to that. And then the US occupation force in Japan actually never came for the emperor. They never did anything to harm the royal family, and they even protected the royal family from court proceedings of crimes against humanity. So they will be always remembered for, at the very peak of their victory, betraying their own ideal. They will always be remembered for that. They were at the peak of their victory. They were almost ready to take over the world for real, and then they gave it up. They could have literally done the demonstration, then went to the UK and say, this war started because Poland was invaded and Poland is still invaded. Then turn to the Soviet and say, you will return all the stolen land during the Second World War from all participants. Then turn back to its home country and go like, we will now build 10 million atomic bombs. But that's just me. Because the way it stands now with the occupation of Poland by the Eastern powers at the end of the war, they didn't actually carry out what they said they would do when Poland was invaded. They said Poland would be liberated. It wasn't. It was left under the domination of the Soviet Union and the new Ribbentrop. Ribbentrop, who's the other guy over there at the end of the war. It isn't Delano Roosevelt. He died shortly before the end of the war. But let's just go with Roosevelt. Ribbentrop-Roosevelt agreement. This is probably why European Union is so important and why Europe has become so tired of wars. They don't seem to do our continent well. They always seem to distract us from things that are actually more important. I think compared to other planets where there's intelligent life, our planet will be known for having an exceptionally weak magnetic field, which is what bothers us, doesn't give us telepathy and so on and so forth. There is no central confined magnetic field that would tie in everyone in a way that would give them the ability to talk to each other over a long distance. Seems like a Twilight Zone episode. The guy who splashed the water bottle at the radio antenna. Hey aliens, we have this.